Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I will show you how I approach dashboard designs in Figma. So if you've ever felt stuck figuring out where to place your sidebar, navbar, content section, or even how to create a chart, this video is going to help a lot. I'll walk you through my layout structure and show you how I build the foundations. So let's jump right in. So as usual, we're going to start by setting up our work environment. So here on the screen, we have like our components. So first of all, we have like the logo, which has like the snow icons and the snow icon and the fictional business name, Frisbee. And then we have like our MasterCard logo. So I got the MasterCard logo. I just went to my Google browser and searched MasterCard SVG logo transparent. And I went over the image tab and click on MasterCard. And then it brought out this MasterCard transparent icon or logo. Then I'll just copy the image. And once I copy it, then I can paste it in my work environment. So you can just easily do that. Then hit K on your keyboard to scale it down. So this is like, it has a height of 24 and width of 40. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our icon. So basically our icons, I made them a component. So the reason I made them a component, I made each of them a component is based on the fact that I would like to easily swap instances during the course of my project. What I'm just trying to say is that each time you're trying to work on any file, make sure your icons are a component so that you can easily swap instance. It makes your workflow very efficient. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the font family. So the font family I'm going to be using for this project is Plus Jakarta Sans. So it's a very clean font and I'll recommend you to use it for your dashboard designs. And you can also explore other font family like Satoshi, DM Sans, and Poppins. But for this particular tutorial, we're going to be using the Plus Jakarta Sans. So the next thing we are going to set up is our color styles. So we are going to set up some color styles manually here, and we're going to also add some color styles with the plugin Foundations Color Generator. So let's quickly do that. So I don't want to waste so much time on this. Let's quickly so we can actually get to what we have for today. So the first color code is, which is our primary color, is C8EF44. So that's that. So the next one is 032313, which is a dark green. And let me make sure that these are being added to the project. So the next thing we're going to bring in this like a lighter shade of green. So this is like 34C070. So I think that has been added. So then the other colors, we don't want them to have like a lot of variations like this. So we are just going to add them manually. So we are going to add them manually. So the first color we're going to add manually is our text color. So our text color for this project is 1E, 1E, 1E. So we don't want to make it 100% black. So the next color that we're going to bring in is our outline colors. So outlines, so the colors we're going to use for our outline. So for outline, we're going to use E4, E7, EC. So the next color we are going to bring in is our table header. So the table header color is F0, F2, F5. So create that. So the next color style that we're going to bring in is our background color. Let's call that BG color. So our background color, we don't want to make it 100% white. So that would be F9, FA, FB. So the next color would be our gray text. So our gray text will be, so it's good to have like a good variation of gray colors to choose from. at least to establish color hierarchy in your project. So I hope I imputed that correctly. So the last color should be an orange fill. So we have FF850A. Yeah. So now we are done with our setting up our color style. So let's dive right into what we are going to do for today. So first things first, we're going to bring in our desktop frame. So for this, I like using the desktop frame, which is 1440 pixels wide. I just like to use it because it's fits in all the components and it just gives me like what I want each time I create a dashboard. So let's quickly rename this. And I'm going to give like a little warning here. If you've not seen the previous tutorial I made about nested auto layout, I would advise that you go back and watch that video. That's if you're not very familiar with nested auto layout, because I'm going to use a lot of nested auto layout in this project. So to make it responsive, that's if you want to make it responsive in the future. So you want to use a lot of nested auto layout here. So let's quickly close this. Let's take it up and then have the home here. So the home, we're going to change it to our background color. So now that we have our background color, the next thing we're going to do is to bring in our side drawer. So some people call it side drawer or sidebar, whichever one is correct. So the next thing I'm just going to, so I like my sidebar to be 240 pixels wide. And then let's give it the dark green feel. Yep, so that's it. So let's rename this to sidebar. So now that we have our sidebar set up, the next thing we're going to create is our main section. So I wanted to mention that we have like two main sections. Each time you want to create a dashboard design, there's actually three areas that you need to actually create. So first we have the sidebar area, and then we have like our main area, and this is our main area that we're creating right now. We'll have like the main body of content and like our nav bar at the top here. So let's quickly change this to main, or let's just leave it at main. And inside of the main, let's take sidebar to the top. Then inside of the main, we're going to have our nav bar. So let's quickly create our nav bar and let's push it to the top, and let's rename this to nav bar. So you see the nav bar is inside of the main frame, which is like the parent frame. So I like the nav bar to be 80 pixels long, or let's just say the height should be 80 pixels. It just helps accommodate like the icons and the profile, the search, every other icons that I want to put inside of it. You know, some people like using 60 or 80, which is not bad, but I won't advise you go anywhere below 60 when creating a nav bar. I don't think that's professional. It might choke up your content, or you might not have like enough breathing space, or the icons might be very, very small, or whatever things you want to represent in this section will be very, very small. So the next thing we're going to do, let's quickly add a white color to this, and then let's add our outline color to this. So we just want the outline to, let me zoom in. So we just want the outline to be at the bottom. So this is how we look now. So you see this a little elevated feel we have here. So this is what I wanted to do. So now that we have the navbar, then we want to have like the main content area where we have like our analytics and every other thing, the other things that we want to have inside of this project. So now we're going to call this content area. So we're going to call this content area. So we're going to apply auto layout to this. So so if you can see now, if you see this content area, you see it has like this little symbol here. This indicates that it's on absolute position, and which we don't want it to be on absolute positioning. We want it to actually respond to auto layout. So the difference between absolute positioning and just having like the normal frame look like this is that absolute positioning doesn't respond to auto layout. You get, so whenever you have absolute positioning on your project, it will make that object not respond to auto layout, which we want this to respond to auto layout. So our advice, if you have not watched the previous auto layout video, you should go and watch it to understand all this. And I don't know if I talked about absolute positioning there, but if you've not, then this little explanation should make this clear. If you want me to do a video about absolute positioning and talking about that, you can drop a comment so we can do a separate video for that. So now this shows that this is like a nested auto layer. We have like the nav and the content area inside. So this is the content area and this is our nav. So you can see the highlights. You can see the highlights. All right, so now we're going to remove the spacing we did there. I spoke about that in my previous video. So now we already have we have the basic structure that we can use to build our clean dashboard right now. And this is basically the structure that you need to. Don't forget this structure. First, you create your larger frame, which is going to hold the whole content, which is the desktop and the viewport. Then the next thing will be you creating your sidebar, which is on the left-hand side. Then the next thing is creating the main content area. So the main content, this is the main content area. So I hope you're following. Then this is like your nav bar at the top here, and this is the content area down here. So from here downward is your content area. So I like adding auto layout to it, just so everything just stick together. So now the next thing, let's quickly build out our sidebar. So for the sidebar, the first thing I like to do, I will just have to add another frame inside. And then give it the same height with our nav bar. So which is 80. Remember, we set our nav bar to 80. So let's click on this. Let's add a little fill to it so you see what's going on. So we'll add 80 and we'll push it to the top. And you see it aligned properly. So let's remove the fill. We already know that there's something there. So let's just name that place logo. So now we can now add our logo. Let's quickly copy this. Then select this. Select the logo. Let's turn this off. All right, so now we are going to paste our logo here. So let's just hold Ctrl V or Command V if you're using a Mac. Then I just push it to the center. Then let's change that text color to white. So now we're going to give it like a distance of 20 from the left. So here we already have our logo. So now we're going to add like auto layout to this. So remember, if you have not watched the auto layout video, you need to go and watch it because we're going to use a lot of auto layout here. So now you see it has filled the container and we have like the whole thing looking perfect here. So that's that for the logo aspect. Now we've successfully added our logo. So this is how it looks now. So this is how it looks. You see, piece by piece, it's becoming very realistic. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to bring in our links. So, definitely in every dashboard, there are always links on the left-hand side that will lead to other pages. And I will actually mention something very quickly. Let me mention it now so I don't forget. Always know that your sidebar is going to be a reusable component because you want to use it in different areas of your project. So just get that at the back of your mind first. It's a reusable component. It's a reusable component. So we are definitely going to make it a component. So I'll give you reasons why we are going to make it a component shortly. So now the first thing, before we go over here, let's quickly create our nav link. So to create our nav link, let's quickly bring in let's use this icon. Let's draw a frame around it. Yeah, so let's call it page link. So this basically will link to another page once you click on it. So now we are going to add our text. So the text, let's call it home. So now we are now going to change this to 16 and change it to semi-bold. So I'm going to give it like a distance of, let's just say 12. I don't know, 12 should be okay. Then I'm going to hold them together and center them properly. So let's just add auto layout to the whole thing. So once I just add auto layout, you see everything is now fixed. So I want the top to have like 12 and the sides should have like 16. All right, so this is what I want. Then I'm going to give it like a corner radius of 8. Yes. So we are just going to create the whole, we're going to make it a component. But before we make it a component, let's quickly put that inside of here. Let's put it inside here. So let's first of all create like a frame around here. So this frame will contain our links. So this is page links, and then let's call this links. So this frame is going to hold all the links. So we're going to add auto layout to this frame. So once we add auto layout to this frame, then we can now stretch it. So what we want the two sides to have like 16. Yes, this is what we want. And the top and bottom should just have like 0. So we can duplicate the nav links. So now I'm going to make the distance between them 8. So just follow along. So now you see, now it's coming into shape little by little. So we're going to take this away and make this a component. So let's take this away. Let's create different states. So we want the user to be able to know when they are active on any page. So there should be like an indicator that shows that, okay, this is the page you're currently at. And there should be also a state where the user just knows that, okay, they are not particularly on this page and the page is just there. So for this, we are going to create the active state and we are going to apply like a fill. So the fill we're going to use here, we're going to use this yellow, the yellowish like, we're going to use this, let's use 800. I think that's too dark. Then we'll change the colors inside to white. Well, let's just change it to this, to the white of this. So now we have this. So now this is the state, this is the active state. So now we're going to make it a component and then create a variant. So now the second variant will be the inactive state where it's not being clicked. So this is going to be the inactive state. So this is the active state and this is the inactive state. So let's just rename it. So we have our active and we have the inactive. So this should come up. And now we're just going to copy this and paste this. So we're just going to paste to replace. And then we're also going to paste to replace. So now you can change this, come over here. So you can come over here and change it to inactive. So now we can duplicate it. So this currently indicates that we are in the home page. So you see it. So now we're going to add an auto layout to this. Let's add auto layout to this. So now we're going to make the distance between here to be 24. Yeah, so we're going to stretch this now. So now let's quickly add our links. So the next link will be the invoices. And the next one will be my wallet. And the next one will be transactions. And the next one will be support. And lastly, we have settings. So now you see why it's important to have like a component. Why I'm having a component here is based on so we can actually show the user that, okay, this is the particular page you're currently at and this is the page you're not currently at. So aside from that, so after naming all this, so I mentioned something earlier about making your sidebar a component. So what I mean by that is that, let's say for example, now I want to, probably after building out the full dashboard, and we noticed that, okay, there was an error here. This isn't supposed to be my wallet. Or let's just say here, we come here, let's just use the support, for example. So for the support, probably like the right word that's supposed to be there that resonates with users is help instead of support. So if you have not created components for this, if you don't make your side drawer a component or your sidebar a component, you will end up trying to edit everything. You go to each page individually, and let's say you have like 100 pages for the dashboard. I'm just saying, for instance, you see, it will take a lot of time to actually edit everything. So it's best to just bring out. So I'll just duplicate this. So I'll just hold Alt and bring this out, side drawer, and I'm going to make this a component. So then I copy it. Let me just quickly copy it, and come back here. All right, click on this and paste to replace. So now you see whatever changes we make here will affect here. So will it also affect every other area of your project if done correctly. So now you will understand why I mentioned that you need to make your icons a component so that we can easily swap it. So you see the way we swapped this from the active to the inactive state. That is the way we want. That's what I wanted with the icon. So it's easy for us to swap those icons. So now let's quickly edit the navbar. So I think the icon for home is okay. So let's look for invoice. So we just change this to invoice. So I think we'll just have to change the color manually here. And then let's do the same for wallet. Let me quickly do that. So now we are done with that. So now if you look over here, you see that all the changes has been applied to this aspect also. So whatever change I made here also reflected here. So that's why it's good to actually have your icons on create them as components so you can easily swap them out. All right, so we are done with the side drawer or the sidebar. So the next thing we're going to do now is to add details to our nav. So the nav is also a part of your dashboard that needs to be reusable. So after you must have finished creating your nav bar, you need to also make it a component so that you can duplicate it. So when you want to, probably there's any change or you want to add like a new icon to the nav bar, you can easily do that. So first thing, let's copy this and bring it out. Let's paste it outside. Or I think it pasted inside. Let's drag it outside. All right. So the first thing I'm going to write dashboard. So let me write that again. Dashboard. So I'm going to give it a size of 24, and then center it properly. And the distance between this and the end of the page, I'm going to make it 24. So this should be on semi-bold. Or let's just make it bold. So the next thing is we're going to create the icons that we're going to have over here. So for that, I'm going to create a frame. I'm going to create a frame and I'm going to add like 100% corner radius, and I'm going to add like strokes. So I'm not going to add fill this time. I'm just going to add like the outline strokes, and then I'm going to copy, like, let me copy one of the icons and push there. So I will definitely change the icons later. So I just want to create like a skeleton. Then I just control paste or command paste inside, and that's it. So this should be like 25. Let's scale it down to 24. Yeah. So now that we have this, we'll just have to duplicate this, and then we're also going to have a frame that's going to have like our user name and the user icon. So let's quickly increase this. Let's check the height of this. This is 49. Let's reduce it to 48. Let me click on K and reduce it to 48. Then reduce the height to 48. I want it to be 48. And let's do same for this also. So let's just change this to 48. Alright, so let's add our outline color to this, or strokes. Alright, so let's give it a 100% corner radius. Yep. So then I'll just select all of them and add auto layout to them. So I'm going to add, call it user, profile, and icon. So we're going to rename this to icon, and we're also going to rename this to icon, and then we're going to rename this to user profile. Or let's just swap the icons that are supposed to be there. Let's just add search. The search icon is supposed to be there. Let's decrease it to 24. Then the next one, let's also increase this to 24. So the next thing is our notification. So we'll just put the notification bell there to reduce the gain. So let's just change it to 24. Yeah. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to add our image. So for the image, I like to use Eclipse or image because it's not going to hold any other elements within it. So we are just going to make sure this is it, top and bottom. So let's just put this, let's leave this at 12. And let's add a little text inside. Let me put my name there as the user. And let's give it a text of 14. Then add auto layout to this. Center it. And then give it like a horizontal distance of 8. Or I think 12 is okay. 8 is too close. And then lastly, we're just going to add one icon there. So the drop down icon, so they know that there is more. So we'll just duplicate it, then I right click on it and paste to replace. So we're going to reduce this a little. Let's make it probably like a 16. Let's see how that looks. So let's swap it to the drop down icon. All right. So now this we're going to use Unsplash to add image to this. So we're just going to go ahead and search for avatar. All right, so we're just going to put a random figure there. So now we're going to set the horizontal and vertical padding. So for this, I want this to be 8 and I want this to be 12. All right, so this is what I'm thinking of. So now finally, we're going to add auto layout to the entire nav bar. And then we're going to manually set the margins. So for this, I'm going to set like different margins for the right and the left. So for the right, I want it to have like 40 pixels. because that's the margin we're going to maintain on the left here in this dashboard. So I want it to have like 40 pixels, and then the right should have like 24 pixels. Let's see if it still maintains our 80 pixels height. So let's manually add the 80 pixels height because that's what I want it to be. All right, so let's quickly check that. You see how clean it looks. So now we're going to make it a component so we can easily edit it at any time. It's very important to create components for your navbar and your sidebar, because let's say you have any corrections or any additions to make, and probably you've designed the whole dashboard. It will be very stressful to try to go around editing them individually. So it's best to always create your components. So I just want to show you that here. I would have just gone straight forward, but it's important you know that. So I just right click on this one that we have here. Since don't forget we've already copied this, let me right click on this to copy, and then select this and copy paste to replace. So now we have our navbar here. So slowly the dashboard is coming around, and let's quickly move this to the side. Let's arrange everything here. Let's arrange everything on the right. So all our components. All right, let's push this to the side a little. So now let's continue. So now we are done with the navbar, and we are also done with the sidebar. So the next thing now we're going to work on is the content area. So the content area is where we're going to have like the introduction, probably like a little welcome and all that. So there's something I didn't mention. Most times there are two ways of actually creating navs for dashboard. I'm just saying it based on in case you are actually going to create your own in the future. Sometimes some people might replace the, this title here, the section title or the particular page title. Some people might put it over here where I'm going to put the little greetings that I'm going to put in a few minutes from now. So some people might put the page title here and put the search bar here, which is normal. But for in this case, I just decided to put the search here, and I just feel it's okay here, and they don't really need to search much here because it's like a fintech dashboard. So, but in other kind of dashboards, so you might see some dashboard that some people put like the search feature here. It's also very advisable to do that, especially if it's a platform where users need to quickly search for things. But this is just like a fintech app, so there's no need for that. So that's why I actually added the title of the page up here. So down here, we're going to have like a little greetings, and then we're going to have like two buttons here, which are going to be like quick links to get things done faster on this platform. So now for this, now the next thing we're just going to do is to bring in a text. So we are just going to add welcome back, and we're going to put David, then put like an exclamation mark. So this is going to be 24 pixels, and we're going to make it semi-bold. Then we're going to push it 24 and make it 24 from the end. So the next thing we are going to do is quickly create our buttons. Let's quickly go outside and create our buttons. So let's just put in text and hold Shift A. Click outside and hold Shift A to add a layer around it. Let's call it button. So we want to make it have 12 bottom and top padding of 12, and the side padding should be 2 times of what we have on the top and bottom, which is 24. And then I'm going to add like the primary color and change this to our dark green color. So now we're also going to give it like a corner radius of 12. I don't know if that is too much, but we are going to adjust it if there's need for that. And this is a little too much, so we're going to make it 16. Yeah, I think 16 is okay. Then we're going to make it semi-bold. So now that we have this button, let's make it a component and also add a variant. So the variant is just going to have outlines. So we're just going to give it, we're going to remove the fill and just add the dark green outline. All right, you can't actually see it, but if I hover around it, you can see it now. So we're just going to pick one and actually drop inside here. So it's important to create all these components so you don't have problem with your workflow, so you don't go back and forth. So I'll just select the content area. If you check here, you see that I selected the content area, then I'll just paste the button. So this button, I'm going to push it to the right here, and I'm going to add a spacing of 40 from the right of the container. So I'm going to select both of these and add auto layout to it. Then I'm going to change this to the text to send money. So now that we have the send money button, you can leave it at one button, but it depends on what you want your users to do. So we can also duplicate it, and then we change the variant to the outline button and let's call this receive money. Or let's change them to send and receive instead of having receive money, having all money platforms. All this send and receive. So now you just select both of them and add auto layout to it. Then we change this to like 12 and then change this to hog. Make sure you watch the video on auto layout so you better understand this. So we are going to change this to button. And then we're going to, all right, I think everything is set. We don't need to edit anything. So the only thing we're just going to do is just to change this to greetings and buttons. So if we look at it, we already have what we want. So we want the distance from here to the top to be 24. So I'm just going to do that quickly. So we have like a little issue. Okay, I think that's set. Why was it showing a different value before? All right, so we already have that set. So now we are done with this particular aspect of the project. So the next aspect is we are going to have like sections. So this is where it gets a little complicating, but if you follow me, you will understand everything and you will get it perfectly. So now this is what we have so far. So you can see our dashboard is coming together. So let me quickly move this to our components to where we have other components. So now the next aspect, we are going to have cards that shows the user an overview of where he or she is currently at, his current financial status on his dashboard, so or his portfolio, all that. So now we're going to create like a card which is going to hold our quick information or like a quick overview of what is going on in the user's finance currently. So for this, we're going to quickly add a fill. So we're going to add like the fill, the dark green fill, and then we're going to give it like corner radius of 16, and then we're going to add like another frame that is going to hold the icon, and we're going to give it like corner radius of like 8, and then give it a fill of white and change the opacity to 12. So now I'm going to also add some text. So I'll quickly add text. So first what we have here is wallet balance. and we're going to reduce this. This is going to be 12, and this is going to be regular. Then let's reduce this to regular. And then let's hold Alt to duplicate, and let's change this to, let's just say this is what is currently on his wallet. And then we're going to change this to 20 pixels and make it bold. And then I'm going to select both of them and add auto layout to it, and then change the distance between them to 8. Or let's change the distance between them to 4. I think that works. So now we're going to select both of them and add auto layout to it. Or let's not add auto layout to it. We are not supposed to add auto layout to it. Let's just use the auto fill from the parent container to just fill it up. So now I'm going to add this, and I'm going to hit 12. Then I'm going to stretch it a bit. All right, so I want it to have like an all-round spacing of like 20. All right, so now we have like spacing around it to be 20, and then distance between this and this is 12. So now that we have this, let's quickly bring in an icon that will stay there. So here we have like the wallet icon. Then we quickly copy that and select this frame and paste it inside. So now we're just going to change the color. Let's just change it to this. Oh no, this is not what I want to edit. Let's quickly edit this. So this is what we want to edit. All right, now, so this is it. Then we center it properly. So now we have the first card. Then we are also going to duplicate it. And then we're going to make the distance between this and this 16. So for this, we're going to create the next card. So for the next card, we're going to give it like a white fill. And then we're going to change the color of this to our test color. Let's change this to our test color. And let's change this to, let's change the fill to green, to the light green. Then when we change it to light green, we'll just reduce the opacity to 12. And then select the icon. And then change the color for the icon. We'll just change it to yellow, to green. And then let's quickly swap it. Let's swap the icon. So this is for income. So we'll just change it to this icon. Let's change everything to green. And let's center it properly. All right, so we are going to change this to income. And then we're going to change this to probably, let's change it to another value. Let's put, let's just put maybe $3,000. And then let's quickly add our outline to both of them. Let's quickly add some outline to it. Yeah, so now I'll just drag and hold to duplicate this. Then select all three and add auto layout to it. So I'm going to add auto layout to 3 of them. So the distance between them should be like 16. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to change this to spent, which is the money spent by the user. So let's just probably change this to $351. I forgot to add the dollar sign here. Let me also add the dollar sign here. So what we are going to do in this case now, you see it's breaking. So we are just going to change the outer layout view to actually adjust the whole thing. So let's do same for this also. Let's change this to view. So if you don't get this, you need to go and watch the nested auto layout video to properly understand this. So now the next thing we're going to do is to go to the orange. So this is where we are going to add the orange. So I'm going to detach this and change this to like 12% opacity. And same thing, let me swap this to the send. This one is showing that it's an outgoing transaction. So let's quickly change this to the orange value. Oh, let me quickly select this. Okay, let's change this to the orange value. All right, now, so we have this. Let's quickly check and see how it looks. So this is what we have currently. So we are done with the card. So with this now, the user can be able to see the available wallet balance, how much has entered his wallet, probably for the month or the week. And then we'll also see how much the user has spent during this time. So we're going to create like the structure. So the next structure we're going to create, we're going to add like a little frame here that will represent our income chart. So we are going to create the income chart very soon. Let me quickly add like some outline to it and give it like corner radius of 16, and then distance between this and this should be 16 and all that. So I want the width for this to be like 800. So we are going to adjust this. Let's change this to 800. So it's not adjusting. So what we are just going to do is just to change this to fill. Also change everything to fill, so it can fill container and actually fit in. So now that we have this, we'll just select this area. So we're just going to call this dashboard or finance overview. We are going to change this to finance overview, and then we are going to rename each and every one of the cards. So we are going to change this to wallet balance. And then we are going to change this to income. And we are going to change this to spent. All right, so now that we have that, so we are going to change this to financial overview. Now that we have this as financial overview, the next thing we're going to do, let's quickly arrange this. So don't forget, all these are under the content area. We're actually adding them under the content area. So now we're going to add auto layout to both of this. Select the financial overview and the chart area. Let's quickly rename it to income chart. So now we're going to select this and the financial overview, just like the quick overview of what is happening on his dashboard. So we're just going to add auto layout to it. And then we're going to create like a little section here also. This will be the section for the user to be able to see, their virtual cards and manage their cards. So we're going to make the distance from this to this to 24, so it rhymes with this. So now we're going to select this and this, and then add auto layout to it. So let's quickly add colors to this. Let's add color. Let's give it a corner radius of 16, and I think that's that. So I noticed something, it has this indication here, which means it's on absolute value. It's going to ignore auto layout. So we don't want that. So what we are just going to do, we are just going to remove it from absolute value. So now you see it has responded to auto layout. So we don't want that. We want it to have like a horizontal alignment. So why it's actually working this way is based on we have not stretched it the way we want to stretch it. So don't forget, we want the margin here to be 24 and the margin here to be 40. I just feel like it's balanced having it this way. I don't really like having the same margin I have here, the same as here. So this, it's good most times for your dashboards. People use different values. I've seen someone use 8, but I think for me to create like a clean layout that can make everything you are working on visible, the text and everything, is good to have like 24 here and 80 here. So it depends on what you're actually doing. It depends and it varies actually, but this is what I do to get my dashboard as clean as this. Then this is like 16. So now you see that we now have like a clean structured layout. Let's quickly add an outline to this too. So we add outline to this. Have we? Okay, yeah, we've added corner radius to it. So now, let's confirm that this is the 24 and this is the 24. All right. Now we've actually come this far. So this is what we have currently. So now you see that the structure is getting coming together little by little. So the next thing we are going to work on now is our virtual card environment. So let's quickly change this to our grid text. So let me change this to our grid text color. So let's change this also to our grid text color. Let me change this to capital letter I. So now I think every other thing is okay. So now we can move on to the next area. So the next area is the virtual card area. So for the virtual card area, so what we are just going to do, we are going to bring in like our header. So our header says virtual cards. Or let's just keep that virtual card. So we're going to change this to 16 and then give it like semi-bold. So notice there's I'm going to be consistent with this 16. So whatever you're going to be using, you have to decide on what you want to use for your headers. So for my headers, I'm thinking of I plan on using 16 semi-bold. So I will do the same for here. So what I'm going to do is that the distance from the top to the bottom, let's just give it let me give it 20. And let me give it 20 here also. So now you see, so this is virtual card. So once I duplicate this and carry it over here, let me also do this. So this is also going to be the same. So this is going to be our, or let's call it income analysis. All right, so now that we have this, over here, you see, you will need all your headers to be consistent. So one thing about consistent design, if you notice what I've done here, so here you see we already have like 16 between this place and this, between this and this. And if you check here, we also have 16. And if you even check within this, is 16. The only place where we didn't have like 16 was like the distance between here and here and here and here. So those ones were different because they are another section entirely. So to have like a neat design, I tend to use consistent spacings around my work. So you need to know that it's good to use consistent spacing around your work. It helps your work look organized and clean. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add like an icon here that will display like a more icon there. So let me just quickly select this and let me paste it. Then push this to the right and then select this and this, and or let's first of all position it properly before I add auto layout to it. Then I add auto layout to it. then select it and swap the icon. So I'm going to swap instance. So this is what I was talking about when I talked about making your icons a component. It helps you easily swap icons, and you can easily get other icons once when you have all your icons as a component. So now that we have that, the next thing we are going to do, we're going to create our card. So let's quickly do that right now. So for the card, we're just going to create like a frame, and then give it our dark green fill, then give it a corner radius of 12. So first, before we continue, let's quickly add auto layout to this. And now let's give it 16 top and 16 bottom. I think the 20 looks too much. And then let's give it vertical gap of 20. All right, so to do that, the next thing we're going to do, since we already have like a similar structure here, I'm just going to copy from here. I'm just going to copy this and then select this frame and paste it. So we're just going to change this to this yellowish foundation color, and then I'm going to push it to the right and to the top. So we're going to use like 16, distance of 16, and a distance of 16 from the top also. So let's quickly rename this to card, and let's rename this entire frame virtual cards. And let's name this section header. All right, so now that we have that, so we're just going to change this to total balance, or let's change it to available balance. And then let's change this to $400. So this is where we now have our MasterCard logo. So we'll just click on this and then paste it. So now that we paste it, we'll just put it to the right and center it properly. Let's select this and add auto layout to it. And then we'll just add auto layout to the card also. So we want to have 16 top and bottom, so we want 16. So I think this is not responding to auto layout. Let's change it to fill. All right, so now it's responding to auto layout. So the next aspect I want to do, we just have to stretch this a bit because we want to add like the card number below. So let me quickly do that. Let me add random digits. So we are going to change it to 16 medium. And medium. So we're going to change to 16 medium. And we're going to give it like spacing of like 40. I think 40 looks okay. So on this, we're going to change the height to hog because I changed it to fixed. Then we'll duplicate this and add the date, the expiring date of the card. Then we select both of them and add auto layout to it and change the layout, and then change this to fill. This is not responding, so we'll just change it to auto for it to respond. Yep. So I think let's change both of them to 14 pixels and see how it looks. All right, this looks okay. So let's just change this. Let's add a little or let's change it to 48. It's down to 48. So I think this looks okay. Well, let's change the padding top and bottom to 20 and this to 20. And let's see how it looks. And this to like 60. Yeah, I think this looks okay. So now we'll just have to add like we're going to copy this and just draw like a little. So now we want to add like a little objects around it so the card doesn't look just plain. So what we're just going to do, we're just going to bring in our clips and just we're not going to have like a definite shape. So I'm just going to add it inside of the project. So what you notice is that then it stretches the auto layout. So remember what I said about absolute position. Once you make it an absolute position and change it to absolute positioning, you see it doesn't respond to auto layout anymore. So now we can now edit whatever thing we want to edit. So I'll just have to push it this way. Let me push it this way. And let me change it to white and then reduce the opacity to like 12, or let me reduce the opacity to 4 and then duplicate and move it to the other side also. All right, so this is what we currently have. Now we'll just copy that. We'll just copy it. Let's make it a component so whenever we edit this, it can also affect this. Let's copy this and paste it inside of here. All right, so we already have the cards. So now that we have the card, now the next thing is to actually add like the quick links that we have at the bottom. So I'm just going to stretch this. Later we're going to set it to hug, but for now let's just stretch it. So let me quickly add the button. So we can always copy our button here. Can always copy this auto layout button and paste here, and then change it to view container, and then change this right up to view card history. So, but I want to reduce the outline of this particular stroke. So let's just use our regular outline color. Let's see how that looks. So that looks too faint. Let's just look for a good outline that can work for this. I don't want it too strong. Yeah, I think this is okay and perfect. So the next thing we are going to do now is to create the quick buttons. So we have like different buttons. So I'm going to create like a box for that. I'm going to create the box. Then I'm going to add another. Let me add colors to this so that we'll see what we are doing. Let me add like a random color so you can see what I'm talking about. So now let's change this to a definite value, or let's just make them equal rather. So now I want to change the hue of this particular frame to the background color, and then I'm going to add like corner radius of 8, and this is going to host our color, and this is just like let's call this button, and then we're going to call this icon. So this way we're going to add the icon. Let's quickly paste an icon inside of that. So we're going to center it properly, and then let's remove the fill from this. We don't need the fill anymore. So we're just going to add auto layout to it and make sure it has like the thing we want. So this, I think this looks okay the way it is. So we're just going to add a little text at the bottom. So let me just add text to it. So what we're going to have, we have details. So let's change this to like 10 and change it to medium. And now we're going to change the layout, center it properly, and let's change the distance to, probably let's change like the gap to like 8 or 4. I think 4 looks okay. And this, we can just have like 12 surrounding it, and we can just have like 8 top and bottom. So now that we have this, we can now duplicate this. So once we duplicate it, we select both of them and add auto layout to it and change the layout to right. So we can also duplicate this also. Now we're going to fill the container and then change this to auto. All right, so let's increase this a bit. I think let's make this a component so that we can easily edit one and it affects the rest. So let's change this to a component and let's copy it and select this, select this, and paste to replace. So all of them now are responding to this now. So I want to change this to 48. Let me increase this to 48. Yeah, so it actually, so the buttons are very visible. So and the distance between this and the bottom, let's just change it to like 8. All right, so let's quickly edit it now. So we have details here, and we have add fonts, and now we have freeze. So let's quickly also swap the icons. So we'll just come over here and change this to the freeze, and then swap this to the add icon. And lastly, this for the details, we're going to put like the info icon. All right, let's use this. So now that we have this, we'll just have to push this to the top. Because it's already on auto layer, if I click my arrow key, I can be able to move it around. So I'll just select this and change this to hog. So let's see how that looks. Wow, we're actually making great progress here. So this is what we currently have. So the next part of the project we we're going to now work on, we're going to work on the scheduled transactions. So for that, we're just going to duplicate this. So now once we duplicate it, we'll select both of them and add auto layout to it and change the layout. Yeah, so now that we've changed the layout, so it's always advisable that you have like one particular frame that is holding everything on the right. Like this particular layout, you have like one frame that is holding everything, like the way I'm doing it now. And this particular left content, you have like a frame. You see, I stacked the finance overview with the income analysis, and you can see that with the visual cards, I'm actually stacking it up with the scheduled transfer. So let's quickly edit that and add the scheduled transfer. So let's make sure that this follows the 16. So, and lastly, what we have down here, we're going to have like our, what we are supposed to now have here is the recent transactions. So, but we are going to come to that. So now let's quickly edit this. Let's first of all move the components that we created to where we have other components. So now let's quickly make the edit. So we're going to change this to scheduled transfer. And we're going to change this icon shortly. Let me update the icon first. Let's just use the horizontal to change this. And then let me duplicate this and change this to view. So now once I change it to view, I'll just hold this and add auto layout to it and change this to like 4. And then we change this to hog. So now I'm going to change this to our gray text. And let's change this to 0. I don't think we need anything there. So I'm going to reduce this to, let me reduce this to like 20. And then we're going to reduce this. Let's see if we need to reduce this. I think this should be like 14. This is okay at 14. Let's change it to view all. This is at 16 semi-bold. This looks too big, so let's still reduce it to probably like 12. And this should be like 16. Alright, it doesn't look balanced, so we are just going to try and balance it right now. So let's just click on it, select it, and change the layout. Okay, I think it looks balanced. Let's see which is having this problem. Oh, it's actually balanced. I think that's my eyes. Alright, so let's change this to this. Alright, so now the next thing we are going to do now is to delete each and every element that we don't need, so we can work on other stuff. So now we're going to stretch this a bit so we can add other things. So the first thing we're going to add like an ellipse that will hold the image of the user. So for this, we're going to be using 36. And then we're going to write the name of the user. So let's just put username. And then let's duplicate and add date. So let's just say, let's just name it date. And then select both of them, add auto layout to it. Let's change it to 4. And this should be like 11 pixels. We're going to change this to regular. And this is like, let's use 14 pixels here. And now we're going to change the layout to the left rather. Then select this and this, then add auto layout to it and change the layout to the right. Then we change this to the gap should be 12. So after adding this gap, the next thing we want to add is the monetary value. So we are just going to duplicate this and then right click on this. Let me copy this. Then I'll copy this, then select this, right click on it and paste to replace. Then once I paste to replace, I think the value for this, we're going to change this. Let's change this to 12 pixels. And then let's center it and change the hug to fill. So now that we have this, so I'm just going to change this to fill. So now we already have our user profile. So we're going to change the gap a bit. I think this gap looks fine, or let's just change it to 24. and then we are going to add like a little padding at the top and bottom of this. And then after we've done that, then we can actually push this outside and make it a component. Let's put like user details and then make it a component. So we're just going to copy this. So after making a component, we're just going to copy this and then select this. And paste to replace. So now that we've done that, I think the top and bottom is having fill, so we'll just change it to hog. So now that we have hog, we'll just have to duplicate this, duplicate. So let's go back a little. Let's select both of them and add auto layout to it, and then change the distance to the gap to like 8. Or I think the gap looks too close, so let's change it to 12. And then let's duplicate. Then we can now duplicate, and duplicate. So let's change this entire frame to hog. All right, now, since we have that, we're just going to quickly use a plugin to change the details on this. So let's use the plugin called Content Reels. So Content Reel. So we're just going to click on Content Reel to fill up this with content. So let's go back to image in the first place and let's select all these images here. And then I'm going to choose avatars. So you see, to just fill up random avatars for us. So this way, instead of us manually entering all the details, we'll just let the plugin do the work for us. So now the next one, we're going to add text. So we're just going to add like our full name. And the next, we're going to add our date. So let's look for date. Let's put date there. And then we're just going to add our monetary value too. Let's add some random dollars. All right, so now that we have that, I think we are done with that particular section. So let's just change all this to our gray text. Or let's just edit it from here. So there's no need to edit it from there since we already have the components. We'll just edit it directly from here. So once we edit it here, it's going to affect every other area here, which is one good thing about creating creating components rather. So now that we are done with that area, so the next area we're going to work on our income analytics. So for that, we're just going to bring this outside so we can easily create it. Let's just paste it here. All right. So now that we've gotten this, let's confirm that there's no auto layout to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to bring in a little frame that is going to host our numbers. So I'm going to give this like a distance of 36 and probably like a height of 24 or so. And then we're going to add text inside. Let me just call it 50K. And then we're going to change it to 12 semi-bold. Let me quickly do this. And so for this frame now, let's quickly add a little color to the frame so we can see what we are doing. So now we're going to do this, and I'm going to add like a little auto layout to this. And we're going to still change this to 36. I like it to be 36. Then I change the layout to the right. And then we're going to add our line. So you're going to hold shift to maintain a straight line. So let me see the distance between. I want the distance to be 20. And let's quickly check that. And let's make sure this is like 12. Let's select this and this, and let's group them together. Let's add auto layout to it. So now let's change this to dash. I think this is okay. Now let's change the color to D0, D5, DD. So now that we have this, let's just first of all make sure that the gap is like 12. Alright, so since we have a gap of 12, let's make sure that it works with the 20 padding both sides. So let's change it to 770 and let's see how that goes. Alright, I think that works now. So now we're going to make this a component, and then we can remove this view. And then we can now duplicate. So let's push the main component outside. Let's call this Y axis. So now let's duplicate this and then add auto layout to it. Then we can now duplicate it. We can now duplicate, and add a duplicate. So now we're going to edit the values to 10K and change this to 5K. Change this one to 3K and this one to 2K. This should be 0. And the distance between this and this should be like this. Let's put it at 24. And then we're going to give it like a spacing of like gap of 16. I think gap of 16 looks okay. And then we're going to duplicate this, but then detach this because we want to create the x-axis. So we're going to detach this and then duplicate this and delete the dash, the dash stroke. So we are going to clean this up so we don't have any value there. And then we're going to change this to April 4. And then we're going to duplicate. And for this, we're just going to give it like, I think 12 is okay for this. Well, let's change this to month. Let's change this to January. And let's change it to February. And let's change it to March. So now that we have this, we want this to stretch. So we're just going to select this. We're going to select everything and add auto layout to it. So we add auto layout to it and stretch it to fill container. So for us to be able to do that, let's change this to auto and see how it looks. So I think this looks okay. So now that we already have this, the next thing that we are going to do is to create our create the chart. So to create the chart, what we are going to do is to go to use our pen tool. So then we are just going to draw this and do this and this, this, and this. So now that we have this, let's just change this to 1.5 and let's change the color to the stroke to the light green color. And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to hit enter on our keyboard. Or once you hit enter on your keyboard, then you can select this, the curve, or what is the item called? It's called the bend tool rather. Then you're just going to zoom in and hold shift and then stretch it. Then do the same for here. Stretch it. And then stretch this one too. And also stretch this. So now that we have this then we are going to duplicate this line. So once we duplicate it now you can see that we have like two lines here. So we are going to hit on the edit icon here so we can edit the object. So to edit the object, so we want to trace out the area that we hold the gradient. So we are going to select and push it down here. So now that we have it, we're going to click on enter to go back to the normal original shape. So now if you look at it now, you see that there are two lines here. So let's just go back. So now we're going to remove the strokes and change this to gradient. And now we're going to change this to our green color and then change this to 0. Alright, I think this looks okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we are going to add marks to this. So we're going to mark the object. We're just going to draw a rectangle around it. And let's go to the top. So these are the two vectors. So we're going to push it to the top so we can see them. And then we're going to select everything. Make sure the rectangle is at the back of both lines. So we're going to select both of them and right click on this more button and go to use as marks. So now we've marked the object. Then we can now draw a frame around it. And then let's quickly add constraints to this so it can be adjustable. Okay, I see it's not adjustable yet. Let's add auto layout to it and see if it's adjustable now. It's not still adjustable. Let's make it fill container and make it fill container. And let's see if it's adjustable now. Okay, yeah, so it's adjustable. So we can just adjust it wherever we want to adjust it now. So let's just go back and remove the fill. So let's call it trend line. And then let's remove the fill. So since now we have a frame, we can just add like a little indicator. And so we'll add like a little ellipse and let's change it to like 12. Let's see how that goes. And let's add like a stroke. So the stroke, let's make the stroke white and change the color to Let's make it 2 and change this to green. All right, so let's push this inside of our frame. And then make it absolute position. So we just have like a little indicator here. And we had like a little shadow effect to it to make it pop. All right, now that we have this, let's quickly finish up with this. So then I'm going to add auto layout to this frame, and then I'm going to drag this inside of it. So if you notice, it might want to take up its own space, but we're just going to change it to absolute positioning so we can properly add it to the frame. So let's quickly add it to the frame. 1, 2, 3. All right. So now we're just going to reduce it so it can fit in. And then we can just move this trend line up a bit. And then we'll just have to stretch this. So I'll just have to reduce the gradient a bit. I don't want it to be this visible. So we're going to change this colors. We're going to change it to our gray color. And then let's complete this. So now the next thing we're just going to add now, we're going to duplicate this and name it income trend. And then we're just going to put the little indicator there. And this should be like, let's make this 12 and see how it looks. I think this looks perfect. Let's cut it and duplicate and paste to replace. And then select both of them and add auto layout to it and change the layout. Then we center it properly, change this to 12. Push it to the other side. Then select this and this, add auto layout to it and change the layout settings. Then we're going to change this to fill so it can push this to the end. And then this will be hog, so it can move to the end of this. So let's try adding one more trend line, one more line here. Let's see. Let's change this to 100K. So let's quickly push this down so we can. The trend line was looking a bit compressed. So let's push it to the top. And then I'll just select this and just push it down a bit. All right. So the next thing we are going to do is to add the little filter to filter by month. And so we're just going to select this, copy, and then duplicate. Then select it and paste to repeat. Then change this to this month. And then hit Shift A to add auto layout to this. Then we add like a little padding to it. So we are going to add our background color as the fill, and then the strokes we're going to add our outline, and then add like corner radius of 4, and then we're going to change the center. We're going to change it to center layout. Let's change this text. They're looking a bit big, so let's change it to 12. I think this looks okay, and then let's change this to gray text. Yeah. So now one more thing, we're just going to add an icon there. We need the drop down icon. So I'm going to select the drop down icon, and I'm going to move over here and add it. Then I'm going to paste to replace. So I copied it and just paste to replace here. So let's just change this to like 16, and also change it to the gray text. All right. So I think this should be like 8. I think it looks okay for the padding. All right. I think this looks okay. Then the distance between, there's the gap inside of it, should be like 4. All right, let's quickly see this and make sure that everything is perfect. So we are just going to push this down a bit. Let's zoom in so we can see it. All right, I think this is okay. So now let's make this a component. So whenever we come back to edit this, it will affect the main area. So I will just copy it and then come over here, select this, and right click on it and paste to replace. All right. I think our dashboard is coming to life bit by bit. So let's move all these components to the component area. So we're going to collect this and this. So now that we've gotten this far, I think our dashboard is looking great so far. So the last thing we're going to add now is tables. So it starts being a long ride. So we're just quickly going to add the tables for the recent transaction, and we're going to call it a day. So without wasting any more time, let's just quickly dive right into that. So to create the tables, how I normally create tables is, what we are just going to do is to first of all create like the header. So by creating the header is just let me create like a shape. Let's call this table header. And let's give it a height of 40 and a width of 100. So now let's zoom in, and then let's give it our table color fill. So now that we have the table color fill, let's just impute our text. So the first thing that we have on the table is date. So now let's change this to 12 bold. I think 12 semi-bold looks okay. And then we're just going to add auto layout to this. But we still want to maintain our width and height. Then we're going to change the layout to the right. So I'm going to change this to the padding that we're going to have. We're going to have like a 20 padding all rounder. Let's change this to hog. I think 20 padding is too much. Let's just reduce this to 40 and change the padding to 0. So now we have the table header. So this is the table header, and we're just going to change this to make this a component, and then we're going to create another one for the table content. So for the table content, we're just going to add a variant, and this we're going to name this. Let's call this table header. Table header, and then we're going to call this table content. So for the table content, we're going to give it like a height of 60, and then we are going to change this to medium and change the color to our greatest color. So now that we have this, and this won't have any color, we're just going to remove the color, or we can just leave it at white. We can also leave it at white. So now I'm going to copy this now and paste inside of here. So I'm just going to paste this here, and then drop it down here. Then I'm going to duplicate it by holding Alt, and then changing this to table content. Let's change this to table content. Alright, so let's quickly select this again. So let's change this to table content. So now let's select both of them and add auto layout to it. And then let's give it a random date like April 24. And now we are going to name this colon table colon. And then we'll duplicate this and duplicate this. Let's just duplicate it into 3 places. So now that we've done that, we're now going to add another colon. Then we are now going to name this table. So let's change this to description. And let's duplicate for category, for status, for amount. So let's change this to category. And let's change this to status, and let's change this to amount. So since this is called table, we're just going to we're going to add our outline. Let's add our outline to this. Let's add the outline. Let's add it to this. So we're just going to add the outline, but we want it just at the bottom. Same here. We're also going to add outline and add it to the bottom. All right, so you see now it's reflecting on the main table. So we're just going to copy, since we've already created this here, I'm just going to copy this here since we already have it here. Then I'm going to paste to replace here. And then I'm going to add auto layout to the table and name this, and name it recent transactions. So let's also change this to recent transaction. Oh, sorry about that. So the next thing we are going to do now is to change this to fill. And same here, we're also going to do the same thing for here also. Going to change this to fill. and then change everything here. So for the date, I don't think we need to make any changes to the date. We can just add field to the other element. So the status doesn't have to, status can just be like maybe 100. I think it's okay. Then the category is okay. Then the amount, let's just give the amount a fixed value of 160. So now under the description, we have Netflix subscription. And the next one we have, let's just keep it as dummy data. Another category we have entertainment. Let's just keep it as entertainment. Let's just keep dummy data there. We've spent a lot of time on this. So the next thing we might just put like completed. And let's just put it like, let's just leave it at completed. So that's basically how to create a table. You create column by column. That way it's more easy to edit the details. So let's change this to 120. I think 120 looks better for this, and this should be like 160 or so. All right, so we're just going to put like random figures here. So let's put like the dollar sign. Let's put this like 15. Just put the minus sign. Let me copy this and just duplicate and duplicate. So let's change the distance for this to 20. Let's keep it at 24. I think 24 looks good. And lastly, we're just going to add like a corner radius to the entire table. So let's just add a corner radius of like 16 on this, and then clip contents so it's visible. All right, I think it looks too much. Let's change it to 12. All right, so this is what we currently have. Let me push this to the components area. So this is what we currently have as our dashboard. So if you've made it this far, I really appreciate you coming this far and being a part of the tutorial. So this is my basic structure for creating a dashboard. So with this basic structure, from here you can customize based on the product you're designing for. You can add real data, charts, filters, and all. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a question or feedback. I read every single comment, so you don't have to worry about that. I will definitely respond to you, and see you in the next one. Thank you. Peace out.